So June has been the month we're supposed to hear some information about the UFO situation, uh, what they found out, what they haven't found out. Before I let you into this, Scott, I will say I think it's interesting that we've seen some reports that come out, trying to get the headlines of the, our government has proven that it's not alien. And then if you
No,
read
that they
into
haven't
the
said that. They
that
haven't
that's
said
that's
that.
that's actually on I think it was a Washington Post article.
No,
I'm
no,
not sure.
that's that AP article was the first
AP.
one to say they cherry picked a line and then used the other
Yeah.
line a few lines down. And what it
Yes.
said was they have no proof that it's alien technology. And
But
then if
but
that
that's
was
what I was gonna say is, and then that next line,
the next line says
that's
they
the
also
headline
have no proof.
proof that
They have
it's
no proof
not.
that it's not alien
Correct. Correct.
technology.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Um, and I think that's interesting how they're, they're trying to get people to see that headline, as many people often do, especially like on social media. They'll see a headline and that's it. They don't read any further into the article.
They're trying to
Um,
pull the critics or the unbelievers kind of. That's the headline they put in for those
right.
people to click on
They
it
want to
instead
give
of the.
people like that negative talking point as to why it can't happen. But I am curious though, Scott. Number one, I have gotten an update on over 78 different video games coming out in the next year. I've gotten updates on tons of musical equipment. I've got updates on when certain bills are going to be brought up. I have had no update on when we are supposed to get this information. I've heard it's June. Like I told you, I think it's June 32nd is when it's supposed to be. Um,
Yeah, June 30th.
well, I don't know. So
Well, the
fill us
report
for
was supposed
information.
to be by the end of June, so it was a tenuous date that they weren't being specific on. Although I'm sure this report's already ready to go. And it could be one of those things where they say, well, we have to the report's ready, but we can't do it till July or something like that. So it's still going to be soon, and so we kind of see a lot of these articles and a lot of people who haven't commented on things in the past, either because they don't want to appear kooky, but at this point they're ready to say something, and it really comes down to two groups of people, which is kind of funny, and it's actually split the scientific community pretty well because you'll have people who are exobiologists, people who study not the possibility, but the looking for life, like on Mars and bacteria and viruses, and then you have people who are studying cosmology, who see that the universe and our solar system is about as normal and peanut butter sandwich as every other solar system out there, water and ice and rocky little planets in the life zone. And then you also have people like our past Carl Sagan, who completely dismissed the
Astrophysics and
idea.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love Carl Sagan. He's the one who did the Cosmos originally in the '70s, and of course, Neil deGrasse Tyson did the updated version. These guys have had to kind of confront the fact, without diminishing the professional, the education level, and what limited information they've been given thus far on what they consider to be proof. Now, what these guys obviously want is they want an alien body on a slab and be invited to the first public dissection, um, or the alien engine, put in front of them and say, give them a wrench. So, which is obviously, even if that existed, probably not going to happen. Um, but what we do know is like headlines like that, which have kind of just been teasers. The actual things that the Defense Department has admitted is that number one, they are not ours. So for those people who say that, well, they're just secret U.S. technology dancing in front of our own jets, where we lock target on them, and in the past they have been given orders to fire. Like, are you armed, Fox 6? And they're like, no, this is a training mission. Like literally, there's a girl pilot who was told to literally ask if she was armed. when they were chasing one. They wanted to fire on it, and that's ridiculous. Why would we confuse our own pilots and our own destroyers and our own? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why we would do that? But they have admitted, the Defense Department, it's not ours, and that these same things have been around, basically, and in these things since basically the late 40s and early 50s, when we started to acquire nuclear technology. So if they were someone else's technology, i.e. Russia, Germany, blah, 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 well, we've had 70 years for these countries with this super technology to have demonstrated it and probably conquered everyone else in the process. And yet in 70 years, no one has demonstrated this. That's basic logic says, well, then they probably don't own it. So, us saying that or the headlines that say, these things are not alien, they said we have no proof that they're alien, but we also have no proof to the contrary. And one thing that was added this weekend was the Defense Department saying, we have been keeping an eye on these things for a long time. And I encourage anybody to go look at incidents, even over Washington, D.C. in the early 50s. There were press conferences as big as anything you can manufacture today. The Air Force, and we've forgotten how there have been times in history when, just like today, there was a frenzy about these things. They were on the cover of Time magazine next to Marilyn Monroe. They were in the public eye, and then they kind of disappeared, and they waned kind of back and forth. And it's this footage and some of the radar data and some of the FLIR camera data. This has spawned another big interest in it. And at this point, with this information, they can't just tell us that it's a weather balloon and that people aren't this stupid. We can't fall for it again. And they know that. So we'll see soon.
I think, too, if you look at it, if you're going to tell me, oh, it's, the two possibilities being China or Russia, you're talking about a dying petrol country who has been in economic, collapse for the last, 30 years. And
Yeah.
then another country who's put all of their infrastructure into manufacturing and to like a service-based economy. I don't buy it. I don't buy
Yeah.
either one of them
And
have that
China's
technology.
stealing all of our plans technologically
Yeah,
for
because
our
they don't.
F-35.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
have the ability to actually. I mean, they have the ability, I'm sure, but they don't have the ingenuity to actually create it, and not by their own means, by the way. Like President Xi, literally does not want anyone to develop anything without his okay. And he doesn't have the intelligence himself. So yeah, like that, I don't believe is anywhere true. I will say with like Carl Sagan though, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think like and you would probably agree with me. It's calculation is all they're doing. Like
Sure.
they know how big this entire universe is. They can, and they're like the probability is probably less than 0.000000000000001% chance that they would ever run into another life form unless there's a ton more life forms out there. But I like I will always give those guys and even some of the other ones like the benefit of the doubt of just being like,
Right. And
I get
and
it,
they are always operating on the basis of what they understand to be the current state of the universe and what facts. And Carl Sagan had no idea that when we finally looked out there deep enough, that every stupid star would have little rocky planets around the sun and water and ice, and then we
Yeah,
are cookie
it's not
cut.
even fair to throw Carl in there. He died quite a while ago, so like
Yes, yes.
yeah.
But he was a very smart man,
Oh,
and
credibly.
he did not believe in Bigfoot or ghosts, and I'm with him there. But as far as the UFO thing, he kind of smashed that all into the the paranormal phenomenon. Which is where the UFO thing is. And as we start to understand our universe around us, we tend to go, well, maybe that is very much of a possibility. And
Let me.
And by the
Oh,
way, the
go ahead.
Defense Department did say, though, that they still consider that an option for basically non-terrestrial technology, which is basically saying, yeah, it could be alien.
Right, right. And so let me ask you this, like, and throw out any potential. I'm going to use a harsh word here, but grifters. I'm going to throw any potential disinformation, let's say legitimately, um, this technology is, alien technology is so advanced that it doesn't just happen to crash on our planet. And literally, what they have is what the pilots have seen and what we've seen in the videos. And at the end of the day, the report is essentially the same thing as the AP article. And it's, look, it's not us. We've we've talked to other countries. We don't know if they're telling us the truth, but pretty sure it's not them either. We have no idea what it is. Like, is that good enough? And even if
Well,
that's the
that would
truth,
just be a continual denial, and that would not be good enough.
well,
Because
let me throw this out. The only reason why I think like I buy any of that is because if they were trying to hide it, wouldn't they just say, "Yeah, it's something we're working on," and that shuts the entire conversation down.
I think if there's two answers. If they were to say, we don't know where it's from, but we do know that, say, these objects, there's really not another answer. If we're supposed to have the best technology. No one else in this world has demonstrated some of the technology as far as aerospace,
No,
and no one has demonstrated they have
no,
anything
no.
better than we have.
Most of them don't even like try. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and if they were to say, well, we don't know, that would just be an admission of ignorance. And the whole point of this is to address the national security implications of these things flying around freely in our airspace and around our military craft. And this isn't just a few incidents, by the way. They've said that these have happened all the time, continually around our military installations, nuclear installations,
Right. Okay.
and
Well,
this isn't
yeah,
just a few things. This is
let me put it this way.
continuously happening.
Let me put it this way. If they do say, and again, just look at the probability. The probability of there not being any like spacecraft or any material that we actually have our hands on are actually pretty good. Like, that we don't, considering how advanced this technology is. Why is it just when it gets to Earth it crashes? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Um, but let's say they say, you know, yeah, no, we don't know what it is, but this is why we want to increase funding for, Space Force or something like that.
Right, and that's been put out there as a theory about that, but that doesn't make sense because it's too. How do I say? It wouldn't be enough if that was just as all the answer we got. And we need to increase budget because we don't know. I don't think they could pull that off. I don't. Nobody does. And
I mean,
and
I
I'll
don't know what
explain to you why. What they think is what has been reported by Luis Elizondo, which was the head of the guy working for the Defense Department investigating these things, is that they have recovered, quote, exotic materials. So,
when did this
you know,
guy work though? Like how?
he was, Elizondo was in charge of the project from like, don't give me, the early 2000s up until like 2011 or 2012 when the
Okay, I mean
project was shut
that's
down.
close enough to like, yeah, you could hold that guy accountable.
But like I said, a lot of these people who are not the super nutbags, and where UFO community has always been plagued by those abduction people. I went to Mars and
Right.
saw the Martian people.
I'll be honest. I
Right.
even think some of the Bob Lazard stuff is a little. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, even his story completely jives with what we're seeing today. And that story was from the late 80s, where he said they brought these people in to look at this craft in a hangar and said, how does it work? They couldn't talk to anyone else except the few people that worked on that specific craft.
Right.
And they couldn't understand anything. It was so foreign that it was, like I said, it's like handing the Romans an iPhone or an F-14 Tomcat and say, make me another one.
Let's go.
They wouldn't even know where to start. So even
Yeah.
if we have something, we're not reproducing it because exotic means it's a freaky, and we have no idea how to even start to make this. And
Well,
that would
that's
make more sense as well.
that. I mean, look, then you put it that way, and I see that aspect of it. That actually does give me some sort of hope that they are going to tell us the truth, or at least quite a bit of it. Because again, I argue that if they wanted to shut it down, they could have shut it down years ago, or even just most recently, and said, "Oh yeah, that's our stuff," and that would have ended it. No one would have been able to say anything to it. So
And it
what
would have
is
been a
it?
good
Other
nation.
nations too, yeah. That
But
and
the problem
and
is,
they could get
did you
away
notice
with
that no one else, no other nation, not Putin, not China, has said a damn thing about it?
no.
Because there's a good possibility that not only we have shot down, that doesn't say they're invulnerable to everything. They could just be drones. You can shoot down a drone every once in a while.
It's
They're
true.
not in. It doesn't say they're in. But the fact that they haven't even commented pro or con, because those things have also been happening to them, as far as having these things buzzing around their military and their nuclear installations.
Wouldn't it
Except
be?
those,
Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, but they don't have any initiative to or responsibility to report anything to their public, whereas
No,
our government
and
has to say something.
obviously we really haven't either. Because yeah, there again, like, and that actually, okay, hear me out here. I'm gonna do like the opposite of a conspiracy theorist. That actually argues to the fact that there isn't some like global superpower, because you would think if there was and they were all aligned, they would be like, "Hey, did you guys have you seen some of this weird shit? Like, have you shot down a creepy alien
Well,
drone looking thing?" And hold up, I'm
there,
not. Hold up.
yeah,
And then well, yeah, actually we have. Okay, cool. Let's tell all of our people that they are our own stuff, and we will just continue to lie about it until we figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like that actually is a good argument for the fact that they don't have communication with each other. I,
right. And
that's
in
way
any
far out
time that
there,
there's
but
been a possible crash reported, that was on kind of like say a country that couldn't do anything about a bigger power coming in to kind of usurp the crash. That there's
yeah,
been reported incidents in
there has, yeah,
Mexico,
yeah,
South America, where the U.S. government came in. First, the Mexican government came in, and people got sick and died because they walked up to things that were possibly very toxic and dangerous. And then the U.S. government comes in and scoops it up and disappears. Please, we would definitely do that if the what would the Mexican government do? It's kind of like they're
yeah.
not going to do shit.
No,
But
unfortunately,
but at
we
the same point,
have
I
dominion
think
over them.
that the reason that they're not commenting on this is because there's a possibility that they're all aware. And there's actually one famous incident where basically our nukes and the Russians' nukes, ours were shut down, not at the same incident, and the Russian nukes were turned on because of flyovers of UFOs, where there were presidential calls saying, we're not shooting anything. Let's not start World War III. We have a malfunction. And those malfunctions were directly associated with UFOs over a nuclear installation, including the Russians' nuclear installation. The Russians have documented crashed trying to chase one of these, and pilots that had perfect records.
Yeah,
So everybody's had run-ins. I don't think anyone has
it'd be awesome if you go to like Uganda
the answer
and
to
they're just
understand at our current level of technology.
yeah, that'd be awesome if like you went to like Uganda and they're just like using one of them as a toilet.
There's been incidents in those countries too, in Australia and other places. And I don't know what the government can even, especially if they don't have an answer for the people. And a lot of these governments have worked directly with the Iran had a huge incident in like '76 where one of their top, who was eventually to become a general, he was a pilot, and we were friends with Iran big time. They were allies. And we had an incident where the Iranian jets, chased and had their weapon systems and everything turned off midair by whatever they were chasing. And then were able to recover and restart their electronics and get their butts back. And who came down to get that information from them? We did.
Right.
Overnight, we were there. So they've been looking at this shit for a long time, and hopefully they will give us something that we can digest. And I honestly hope they don't tell us, yeah, so this alien species, the Quagnars over here, they've been messing with us for a while. I hope they don't do that, because that would freak people out and cause way more uncertainty and distrust of the government from them just saying, we've got things we don't even understand. We're not developing anything on it because they're so foreign, and we'll let you know if, because the nutbags have always said, well, if they've got the technology, it's free energy, and it'll revolutionize the world. Well, in order to do that, you got to understand it,
Right.
and
And you have to
I
have the
don't think we do.
resources and the material, at
I
that
think
as
it may
well.
just open people's eyes that we are not the center of the damn universe, and people should think that way. Not that there's any big threat from the aliens, because there's probably not, but that when you look up at the sky, there's always a possibility it's not just Uncle Sam watching from a satellite.
And it would be interesting, to think that like potentially these are just like the equivalent of like children's drones that they have. Like they're like nothing more than just like
Just
harmless.
information gathering.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
I said, watching the little hairless monkey people do their thing.
yeah. Yeah, it'd be the same. Like, yeah, if a chimp found a mobile GoPro or something out, in the Sahara and it's like, what the hell's this? And
The
same
gods
difference.
must be crazy.
Right. Anyway, we will be back. We've got more. Uh, we're going to be talking about taxing the rich and a little piece about. We're also going to talk about the the way that the corporations are pitted against us in that piece, talking about taxing the rich, how they're able to do it. More on that though. We will be back.